Lisa, thanks so much for being with us this morning. I want to start off by just asking you to explain how Tequitable works and what it is that you do with your corporate clients.
Thanks so much for having me, Julie. Happy to be here with you. So Tequitable is really trying to use technology to make workplaces more equitable. And so our mission is to help create companies that are going to create a work culture that works for everyone. And so we've created this third-party confidential platform to help companies address issues of bias and discrimination in the workplace. So for example, if my boss makes a sexist crack, right, that's not the totality of who he is, or he tries to touch my locks, right? I'm not going to go to HR for that because that's the nuclear option, right? I'm not trying to get him fired, but I would like those behaviors to stop. On the other hand, if I feel like I'm being overtly discriminated against and harassed, right, then I want the company to take immediate action. And so what Tequitable tries to do is help the employee in either of those situations figure out what their next steps should be and how they can move forward. And then simultaneously, companies really don't have a great sense of what's happening on the ground in the day-to-day on their culture. And so we try to provide data and insights back to them on that. And so for us, it really is about providing a sounding board for employees where they can come, get advice, explore their options, and figure out their next steps, to give them back some agency. And then we use data that we anonymize and aggregate to identify the systemic issues within an organization's culture. We create a report for the management team with actionable recommendations, right? So for us, it's really important. We work on both sides of the equation because we want to create systemic change.
So Lisa, it's so interesting because Twitter just made this commitment that 25% of its executives would be from underrepresented minorities by the year 2025. What do you think of that kind of commitment? Is that the kind of thing that works? Is that something that other companies should consider doing?
Absolutely, yes. There's no question that, one of the things that people are like, oh, it's like we can't find Black folks, we can't hire them. Just hire them, just do it. It can be done. I will say one of the things that's been really interesting to me is since there have been laws that have been passed around minimum requirements for underrepresented folks on boards, magically, folks have been able to find people and to find really excellent, remarkable, great fitting candidates. And so it really is about making that commitment and making the effort that counts.
So Lisa, great to have you. I'm not a corporate lawyer, but if I were, my first question would be, when there's a lawsuit, what happens? Do an employee's contacts with Tequitable show that the company should have known something was going on? Or do you have to tell the employee that reporting something to Tequitable isn't the same as talking to HR? Do I somehow get protected by the idea that I proactively sought data and engaged with this platform? What happens?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, and I don't even play a lawyer on TV, but I have actually been able to satisfy the kind of inquiries from the greatest of legal minds. So there's a few things. So we're actually based on the model of an ombudsman, and ombudsmen have been around for centuries, really, but in the U.S. since about the 1960s. And so there's actually a book, a really thick book by Chuck Howard, which is basically a legal guide to setting up an ombuds office. And so we're building on things that have been practices and models that have already been learned from. And so, no, ombuds are, in fact, independent, not beholden to the company's management structure, but also confidential, right? So we won't even acknowledge if somebody has spoken with us or not. And we also impartial and neutral. So we don't take the side of the employee, nor do we take the side of the company. We're really trying to provide fair processes and to ensure fair processes. And then we are very specifically informal and off the record. And so we say that in English, we say that in legalese. We actually don't even collect personally identifiable information. So we have all kinds of mechanisms in place. We shred notes, we do data purges. So there's all of these ways that actually we don't even retain those records. So that's kind of the end all and be all of it.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.